3 ways sleazy contractors rip you off and what you can do to protect your project and yourself. Coming up. Welcome to Down to Dirt TV, and today we're going to be discussing how to protect yourself and your project from sleazeball contractors that are trying to rip you off. If you're new here, I'm your host Rob. I've been in the trades now for about 20 years. I own and operate an excavation, demolition, and trucking business here in Washington State, and I also have a Bachelor's of Science in Construction Management. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button so you can get some more great quality content, since that is by far the best way that you can help support this channel. Make sure you hit that little bell icon so you never miss another video. Now that that's out of the way, let's get down to dirt. Everyday homeowners look for help on their projects. You're probably watching this video because you had a bad experience previously with a contractor and you want to avoid another similar encounter. Or you're looking to hire a contractor, but you've heard all the horror stories out there and you're doing your due diligence to protect yourself from being ripped off. Either way, I commend you. Good for you. Nothing's more infuriating than spending a boatload of cash on a project to get an outcome you weren't expecting. Or you find out the contractor did a half-assed job on your project, but you don't realize it until after you've already paid the contractor. Unfortunately, there's a lot of contractors out there that don't know what they're doing and they have that fake it till you make it mantra. So let's talk about some ways that you can protect your project. Make sure you stick around to the end because I'm going to give you some helpful tools that will hopefully help you get off to a good start. Number 1. If your project requires a design, make sure that you study the plans and get familiar with your project and what it requires. Most people skip this because they believe that the contractor will figure it out for them. This can be a huge mistake because the contractor may not have your best interest at heart. If you don't know what your project entails, you might open yourself up to exposure that can be exploited through omissions. Let me explain. Example of this would be, let's say you're building a new home. You send the plans to 3 different contractors for bid. The contractors submit their bids and John Doe Builders came in significantly lower than the other 2 contractors. You sign the contract and you send in your 50% non-refundable deposit, figuring you got a good deal, right?
Yes! Now I can afford that Tesla I always wanted.
Not so fast. You call John Doe Contractor after not hearing from him after signing the contract. He asks you when you're going to have your dirt guy there to cut the hole for the foundation. And you get confused as you assume that it's covered in the proposal. He goes on to tell you that they only cover the construction of the building and not the dirt work. So you look at the contract and see the foundation was line item. You get into this argument with John Doe on what the meaning of the word foundation means, and you find out that it doesn't mean excavation. So now you're off looking for an excavation contractor to get your project moving forward. Now your project's on hold until you can get a hold of somebody to cut the foundation. You can't just fire him because that would mean you'd be forfeiting your non-refundable deposit. Puts you in a bad position. When you finally get the estimate from the excavation contractor, you find out that the cost of the project is now the same as the highest contractor. Yikes.
Forget the Tesla, now I gotta shop at the food bank.
So upon closer inspection, you look at all the proposals and you see that they're vastly different. You see that John Doe Builders doesn't have a list of inclusions and exclusions, but the other contractors do. And then you realize you didn't even outline what you expected the contractor to cover in their proposals either. This opens you up to a sneaky little trick I call deliberate omissions. This is when a contractor deliberately omits parts of the project to make the pricing more attractive for the customer. Then, when the time comes, the contractor tells you it's your responsibility to do certain activities on your own project. Now you can ask them to do it, and of course they will, but for a fee. Next thing you know, you're swimming in a bunch of change orders. If the contractor deliberately does this, then you're dealing with a person that doesn't have any moral integrity. The best way to avoid this is to create a bid list of items that you want included on your project and provide it to the contractors during the bidding process. Then you have a clear bidding expectation for your project and get an apples to apples comparison in price. I would request that all the bid line items are separated into their own activities. Most contractors are pretty good at this, but there are a few dirtbags out there that get cloudy judgment when they see money. It's amazing how many people do that. Also, don't rely on verbally telling your contractor what you want either. Contractors will ultimately interpret your expectations differently. That's why it's best to put it in writing. If you want to be successful as your own project manager, write out your expectations for the contractor, or you might not get what you're paying for. You might not get what you think you're paying for. Number 2, cutting corners. A lot of quantity contractors, not quality contractors, use subpar materials in construction to save them money, meaning they will charge the same amount as everyone else, but they use inferior products to get them a better profit margin while delivering you a shittier product or service. It's usually something you won't see the effects of for years, like paint, doorknobs, concrete slabs, and roofing. You won't know it until the floor starts swelling, the roof starts leaking, the countertops start peeling, cracks develop, foundations sinks, or your water line breaks. My point is that there are many ways contractors try to sell you crap at a premium cost. To protect your project, make sure you familiarize yourself with the materials to be installed and be sure they don't swap it out for cheap knockoffs, and be sure that you educate yourself on the way the product is supposed to be installed. Otherwise, I suggest you hire a project manager to run the show because knowledge is really key in this aspect. Here are some examples of contractors cutting corners. Painting contractors don't always prep correctly and they won't prime the walls before painting. Concrete contractors will pour a thinner slab to save on material costs. An example of this would be like if you needed a 4-inch slab but they only poured it 3 inches thick. Excavation contractors will often bury organic materials in the backyard to save trucking and disposal costs, which break down over time and create sinkholes later. There are excavation contractors who act like demolition contractors and don't pull permits or perform an asbestos test. Sometimes they'll even bury concrete on the site. This can get you into a lot of trouble with the county. We'll cover the ins and outs of demo in a later video, but this is just to name a few things. Not to go off on a tangent about excavation contractors burying materials, but I've seen grading projects where a previous contractor buried stumps as fill to save some money, and then 10 years later, their backyard needs to be excavated. The customer had no idea this happened, and to make matters worse, the original contractor was nowhere to be found. Probably changed the name because they wanted to avoid a lawsuit, or they got Epstein by messing with the wrong person. Anyway, check this house out for instance. This is an unfinished house that is sitting on organic material, and the footing drains are not installed at the correct elevation to stop the water from entering the crawl space. The foundation is going to end up sinking once the material degrades, and this customer is going to have major issues in the future. We've offered to fix the issue, but the customer is more focused on saving money. For the record, if an excavation contractor tries to talk you into burying things to save money, just remember, it'll cost you more money to deal with it in the future. There's nothing more expensive than trying to save money. I personally have a problem with contractors who cut corners. Cutting corners can cause unnecessary financial hardship in the future, and it gives real contractors a bad name. It's just what happens. Now, if you're getting any value out of this video, remember to hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Don't forget to subscribe for more great quality content, and make sure you hit that bell icon so you never miss another video. Now let's just get back to it. Number 3, unlicensed contractors. These special ed degenerates are the worst. They aren't contractors at all, but they'll surely pretend to be one. Bluntly put, these guys are con artists. They'll talk a big game, promise you the world, but when it comes down to it, they offer zero benefit to the customer. An unlicensed contractor is a huge liability. If someone gets hurt on a project, the property owner becomes the one responsible. Could you imagine if you're building your first home and then a beam falls on a person, severely injuring or killing them? You could be sued for damages by the licensed contractor, and if a safety violation is found, you could also be liable for that. Construction is a dangerous line of work. It really is. 1 out of 5 workplace deaths are due to construction-related accidents. That's 20% of all accidents. Real contractors have a license, bond, and insurance. These are critical to protect you from shoddy craftsmanship. It guarantees the contractor will start work safely, and complete the work in a satisfactory manner. It also incentivizes the contractor to follow municipal codes, further protecting you from delays, red tags, fines, etc., etc., etc. Remember the guy whose house is sitting on organic material? He can't even go after the unlicensed contractor because there's no way that he can prove that he was acting on his own. Meaning, a court would more than likely determine that the guy was working as an employee of the owner and not as a contractor since he had no legal right to do so. Further, the homeowner cannot make an insurance claim against the unlicensed contractor because he's unlicensed. This ultimately means that the customer gets to fix the foundation out of his own pocket. So don't think you're going to get a deal by hiring an unlicensed contractor. Unlicensed contractors have no accountability for their work. Some never start the projects at all, okay? These con artists typically ask for cash deposits as well. That way you can't even prove that you paid them. And a handwritten receipt is basically useless and garbage. So, question of the day, have you ever hired a contractor and bad contractor, and what kind of issues did you have when you were dealing with them? I'm super interested in hearing about your guys' experiences, so please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. So my conclusion, in 2020, we have knowledge at our fingertips. With a little bit of research, you can gain the knowledge you need to protect yourself from getting ripped off. Familiarize yourself with your project before you decide to hire someone. That way, you can ask intelligent questions to verify if the contractor has what it takes to do the job. Also, make sure that you look at company reviews online. Ask for references if they don't have any. A good place to check is Facebook and Google. I can tell you that there are a lot of companies out there with a lot of good reviews and a lot of bad reviews. But make sure you look so that you can determine if they're the right ones for your project. Make sure you read proposals side by side. Don't make the bottom line your determining factor when hiring a contractor. Being cheap causes problems and often results in doing things twice, costing you more money and delays in your schedule. Make sure that they have the expertise to get the project done in a safe and efficient manner. Additionally, make sure you familiarize yourself with the best practices when hiring a contractor, as there are many disciplines that don't require permitting. Lastly, don't take unnecessary risks by hiring unlicensed contractors. And as a bonus for you guys, I've linked every state verification URL in the description below. These sites are phenomenal tools that will help you protect your project. Like ours in Washington State, we can look up a contractor and see if they have any safety violations or lawsuits against them. It's pretty useful stuff. Anyway, guys, I hope this video was helpful. Make sure you hit that like button and hit that notification bell as well so you never miss another video. And just as a quick update, real quick, I'm going to be releasing videos every other week from now on until I get some more people in on this community. The videos take a lot of time to edit and I need to be able to keep up with my business while I'm doing this. So don't worry, not giving up. I'll keep giving you guys quality content. I just want to make sure that you guys are getting accurate information that's not rushed and sloppy. I really enjoy doing this and I thank you for all the recommendations and I really appreciate everything you guys do for me. Thank you so much for tuning in here to Down to Dirt TV. I'm your host, Rob, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.